guerrilla leaders from the two main resistance groups, Al-Fatah and the Popular Front. Now, Jordan is in turmoil with your people fighting the Jordan government. How long can that go on? Do you think the Jordan government can survive?
Well,
King Hussein survive?
Well, it depends. But I think that the resistance movement has been all the time suffering from the continual encroachment of the Jordanian regime. But they always try to cut it down to size. Whenever they notice that the resistance movement is gaining more supporters and is being better armed and is being more successful in its operation, they started to launch an attack either on some of the bases of al-Fidaiyin or put some restrictions on the movement of the Fidaiyin. And I must say, unfortunately, if I am to say about the dead, the martyrs of the resistance movement, I might say that 80% of those who are dead fell down by the bullets of the Jordanian regime. And it tried recently to liquidate the resistance movement, but it discovered that it has become so strong that it would need a massacre to finish the resistance movement.
Are you at all afraid you might get killed by your activities?
If I were ever afraid to get killed, I won't join Fatah. But I like to get killed inside Palestine if I am going to be killed, and not by an Arab army, because my enemy is Israel in the first place and the Zionist movement, and not the Arab armies. I'd like to see the Arab armies fighting alongside with me against the Zionists. But if I have to face the Arab armies, which may have happened, I'm not afraid to die.
When you're in Jordan, when the battles are going on, aren't you afraid you might get killed?
No, of course. It was a possibility to be killed by the Jordanian army and those who are cooperating with the regime and who are against our revolution and against our masses. We have lost so many. It was possible that I was one, but I was able to escape their aggression.
All the support we get from Arab regimes is nominal support. Our main support and our main strength is in the Arab people. Some regimes said they were with us, some regimes said they were with us and they shot at us. It doesn't make really much difference. There is no great danger on the revolution. What they can do is, for example, they might not publish our communiques or get our word to the people of those countries. But we are managing to have our voice reached to our people. In a way, we are forced to fight. We are forced to. We don't like just to carry arms and fight. We are not bandits. We are not murderers. But we want back what's ours.
Do you think there's a real prospect now that Russia and America will decide to settle the problem between them and forget all about you?
Yeah, but we'll manage. We'll try and find our arms. Anyhow, the Palestinian resistance movement is not getting arms from either the Soviet Union or any other country in the socialist bloc. Whatever we get, we are getting from China. We are getting from those forces that understand our struggle and are ready to give us the support we need.
Do you think you're going to continue to get support from China?
Oh, yes, we will. We are confident of this because the position of China has been clear.
The battle is about the dreams and destiny of these people, the Palestinian refugees in their camps in Jordan, Syria, the West Bank, and the Lebanon. These squalid camps are 21 years old. Over 500,000 people live in them. They have become academies for revolution. The governments of the countries they stand in are nervous of the new confidence of the young, as here, just over the Lebanese border.
No, the living here in this camp is very difficult because, as you see, we are living on sands and our ceilings are from metal. It's very hot in summer, very cold in winter. Some drops of water are used to drop in your bed. We don't have better means of living because the government is blind for us. We used to have our ration from the UNRWA, 10 kilograms of flour for each person. No means of working here because you notice the Palestinians are used to have a permission from the government in order to let us work here, and they don't give permissions.
So do you think that you will ever go back to Palestine?
Of course, we believe we are going back to our land, to our houses. So we are working in two main parts. Some of us are learning in order to be technicians, to be pilots, to be other things, and others are fighting. We are training here some persons. We send others for the borders in the south of Lebanon. We believe that we are going back to our land, but the matter is how long we are going to be outside our land. So
do you think you would have been happier, though, if you had settled down and been citizens of Lebanon and forgotten about Palestine?
No, we don't believe in such things. We know our land is still here, 90 kilometers. We are going to go back to our land in any means. We are going to fight until the last person of us.
You want to die?
Yes, I want to die for the sake of my country. Lebanese government catch us or prison my people to die.
From these camps where they were born, the young go into battle in Jordan or across the Israeli frontier, fighting to return to the unpromised land, to a Palestine they hardly know. But as they grow more desperate, they pose a threat to the countries they inhabit. How long can the Lebanon remain safe from the new spirit of these impoverished camps? The waterfront in Beirut doesn't look any different than it did 3 years ago. What has changed is what the rich, the merchants, the businessmen, and their friends say about the guerrillas. They have become part of the price of Palestine. It's said frequently in the West, in the press and by politicians, that the guerrillas represent a tiny minority of people in this part of the world.
If you're talking about numbers of actual guerrillas and actual support, human support, the number is immense. It stretches in every Arab country. There isn't a single Arab regime who can really go against the guerrillas. But they will go against them in as much as if they try and turn over all the regimes and all the existing ways of life, they will go against them, yes. If they're going to start and create chaos in Lebanon, they're going to create chaos as they're creating chaos now in Jordan, the regimes will go against them, the people will go against them. They will lose public sympathy.
People in Beirut, first of all, understand Palestinians. People have been kicked out from their homes. They want to return to their home. The problem is as simple as that. This in theory. But in fact, those who kicked them out want to remain there, and those who have been kicked out want to come back. This is the whole problem. Now we understand the guerrillas and we support the guerrillas as long as it helps the Palestinian people to recover their country. But in case a part of one Palestinian organization makes something that in the view of any individual doesn't really help the Palestinians recovering their country, then they will not support it. If they do something and they think that this is a part of the whole action they have to undertake to recover their country, then they support them.
Would you think that the guerrillas' activities is going to prevent the chance of peace in the Middle East, a ceasefire and eventual peace?
A ceasefire and an eventual peace is a word that seems too simple. Peace based on what? If the peace is based on justice and legal rights, guaranteeing the rights to the Palestinians, I think the Palestinians will be the first one looking for this peace. If this peace doesn't take into consideration the normal wills of the Palestinian people, I think it will interfere in the peace.
But you're suggesting that the Rogers plan, the present plan, is not an adequate one. Is that what you're saying?
No, what I say is that the Rogers plan doesn't satisfy the Palestinians.
Well, and therefore it's not a genuine peace.
I don't think the Rogers plan will come into effect.
Do you take the view that the guerrillas are preventing the ceasefire working and the present peace proposals ever coming up to any fruition?
Well, they could. I mean, if they're going to create trouble in all the Arab cities and all the Arab countries, they could prevent it coming through because they have a will and they have to be taken into consideration. In that way, they could, yes. Militarily, I don't think they could really affect it in that way. But as far as the will of the people and their rights to exist within their homeland, yes, they could.
Razan Twaini is the editor of a moderate pro-Western newspaper. I asked him if the guerrillas were losing popular support because of the hijacking of planes and the battle now raging in Jordan.
I think one has to understand the Palestinians, as I said. They cannot be spoken to the language of international law. International law and order has made them lose their country, their homes, everything they own. So why should they respect international law? They have no concern for international law. And viewed from this point, by their own logic, I think hijacking is a natural form of terrorism, of which I personally cannot approve, of course.
Do you think that among themselves, from your observation of the Popular Front and al-Fatah and so on, that they are going to be more at loggerheads now than they have been in the past?
I think Fidai policy, Palestinian policy, is going to be written more and more by the smallest radical splinter groups than by the larger Fatah. I think it is the normal evolution of revolutionary movements that the more an organization grows, the more conservative it becomes. And the radicals are necessarily those who will be leading the others into greater extremism.
From your knowledge of them, how would you describe the sort of character and the background of the radical groups?
I think the most important thing that one has to say is that the radicalism is more emotional than ideological. Some of them are termed Marxists, other Maoists, and whatnot. But in fact, they're emotional radicalists rather than ideological radicalists. And I think, as I said earlier, they are really desperados, people who have lost everything, and who believe that they are therefore entitled to blow up the whole world, because what do they have to lose? Nothing.
Do you yourself see any danger that by their activities they will turn the West, for example, against the Palestinian cause, that they will, since they apparently are disturbing a possible ceasefire, incur even more odium?
Well, of course, they are against the ceasefire, and therefore it is a set purpose of their action to destroy the ceasefire and its chances of success. Furthermore, they believe that one of the purposes of their revolution should be to overthrow the present setups in the Arab world, not only inside Palestine, or Israel as you call it, but also in Egypt, Syria, Lebanon, Jordan primarily.
Throughout the Middle East, intellectuals, university teachers, lawyers and journalists increasingly are supporting the guerrilla cause. In Beirut, I talked to some of them. One, a young Jordanian woman, is a leading revolutionary writer. I asked them how determined the guerrilla movement will prove to be, whether there wasn't a chance, even at this 11th hour, for the Palestinians to accept a compromise.
The Palestinians, in their revolutionary movement, are not in a mood to compromise. Their existence is hardly acknowledged. They are not even mentioned in the Rogers plan. Everybody talks about solving the Palestine problem, and they do not figure at all in the picture. It is a bit utopian to expect of them to offer compromises when their position is not recognized.
Why is it a matter of such permanent or apparently permanent and vital importance that a particular part of territory should be occupied by a Palestinian state? Why does it become so important? If, for example, Jordan were to be made what you might call a Palestine, why does it matter quite where the geographical boundaries are put?
It's not a question of political area or territory. It's a question of the existence of the Palestinians. Now, the Palestinians are in a fix. They're trying to be liquidated in Jordan. So what can they do? They'll either take over power in Jordan or be liquidated. They don't have a chance.
Would you like to see Jordan become an Arab, revolutionary state?
Yes, I would like Jordan to become a republic, an Arab republic, in which the Palestinians and the Jordanians share the rule, and where imperialist influence in Jordan would be become minimum, and if this will lead to peace, of course, I agree.
How concerned would you be if the conflict here really did become a major war? Would you think it's worth it?
This is a very unfair question, you know. If every poor people fighting for liberation would be faced with the alternative whether to go on with the liberation or to risk a world conflagration, you're putting them in a false position. Those who are responsible for the threat which the world faces are not the small people in this world. They are the people who are the great powers, the Soviet Union and the United States primarily. What the Palestinians want is justice. And if they are using means that seem questionable to world public opinion in the West, it's because the West is not interested except in the effects, not in the causes. Why would quite intelligent, normal, young men and women, mostly college graduates, go out and hijack planes? Why? Do people ask this question? As to the means they're using, they say that they're using innocent people. Well, that's true, and it's regrettable. Aren't B-52 bombers in Vietnam killing daily innocent people with silent death? Why doesn't public opinion in Europe move? Mr. Heath talks about international sanity. It depends on what position you are to determine the sanity or the insanity that rules international relations. So it's a question of perspective. And the Palestinians have a perspective in which they are confronted with being or not being literally. And this is the desperation which the Palestinian revolution movement faces today.
But if the existing Arab governments were to go along with America and Russia and attempt to remove the problem by attacking you, what would you do about it? I mean, would you personally fight back or would you give up?
No, I'll fight back. We'll go underground and we'll organize cells and we'll start the real revolution in the Arab world. We'll start attacking our own governments.
The revolutionaries want to produce the collapse of capitalism along with the collapse of Israel. But how many of the rich across the bay would be prepared to pay that price for the return to Palestine? What's your view of the sort of revolutionary aspects of the guerrillas' propaganda, the way in which they want to change all the Arab societies?
Well, this is where we clash with them constantly. I mean, this idea of wanting to destroy everything to create something for their own benefit just doesn't wash with us here at all.
I personally might be considered reactionary, but definitely this is where we clash in the point of view with the guerrillas. We support them in every aspect, but when it comes to trying to change Arab countries into the forms they believe in, I think this is premature, because our main problem now is to liberate Palestine, to get them back where they want to be, to regain the lost land. And we should not spend any efforts anywhere else besides fighting or working diplomatically or in any other way for the return of Palestine.
Yes, but the word revolution itself, excuse me, I insist on this point, means different things to different Palestinian organizations. For the organization, for example, of Al-Fatah, I think that the word revolution means the revolution inside Israel, where instead of calling this land Israel, it has to have its own real name, Palestine, and all Arabs that have been kicked out have to come in, and the regime should be a regime including Muslims, Christians, and Jews. I think this is the main idea in the word revolution in the views of Al-Fatah. While, for example, in other organizations like the FPLP or the FDPLP, they're looking first for a revolution in the Arab countries around Israel, and then after the liberation of these countries, liberation from the what they call domination of the, excuse me, yes, from the reactionary regime, then they will...
People like those gathered here.
Yes. So they prepare another revolution against